out to Socrates. Socrates still trying to get the opening. Oh, Socrates! Whoa!
And there it is. The crazy gang have beaten the Culture Club.
Maggie Thatcher, can you hear me? Maggie Thatcher, your boys took a hell of a beating. Your boys took a hell of a beating.
Welcome to module subsection 1.06, paragraph 1. ITV's cameras are back in action. We are the last weekend in October. There's football galore on the television on this particular weekend in 1979 as we head towards the dawning of the 1980s. Match of the day, featured game, first one up, and this is the one we'll focus on for this one. We will go into other games in other paragraphs. QPR versus Burnley as we dip into the second division, Dave. That wonderful propensity, that need or that demand from the Football Association, the Football League, thou shalt show games from the second, third and fourth division as part of your coverage and broadcast them as the top game of the day, front and centre. We're dipping down into Loftus Road. The BBC don't have to travel too far. They'd probably all jump into the back of a taxi, Dave.
It's a marked lack of enthusiasm for the concept from the BBC. Over the road from White City, through the tube station, out the other end, into Loftus Road. There we are. Everybody's set up, and we're all ready to go for second division football. When I saw the thing, QPR Burnley, I was thinking, is this second division or first division? Because they were both in and around both at the time, weren't they? Or sort of both up and down at different points in the first and second division. But for Burnley, this is the start of the nuclear winter that eventually had them in the fourth division, and 86-87 nearly went out of the league. So
absolutely,
it's a portent of things to come.
It very much is. Very much is. Tommy Doherty versus Brian Miller. Brian Miller has recently, he's part of the furniture at Turf Moor. That Burnley have had a bad time. They've thought, right, who do we give the manager's job to? Well, let's give Brian a go. It's very much that type of thing. They're a team, a club that they've not won a league game for over 6 months, Dave. The bottom of the table. QPR fits and starts this season so far. I think they're around about 7th place, but within a stone's throw of the top parts of the division. Burnley are without their goalkeeper, Alan Stevenson, which brings in the 19-year-old Billy O'Rourke, an absolute superhero as far as this game is concerned. Yet scarred for life. 19, he's not the only teenager on display in this game. He's not even the youngest player on the pitch. That honour goes to Clive Allen in the QPR side. A quick rundown of the sides. The QPR are missing Tony Curry in this as well, which won't have gone down well with the BBC hierarchy in entertainment value. They would probably have been fearing the worst, but then they're presented with this quite glorious afternoon, really. Bob Hazel is also injured. The QPR side, Chris Woods is in goal. Don Shanks, Steve Wicks, Glenn Roeder, Ian Gillard, Dave McCreary, Barry Wallace, Stan Bowles, Clive Allen, Paul Goddard, Steve Burke, and the requisite. They've got Walsh on the bench, Dave, as everyone seems to have. The Mickey version, this one. The Burnley side, O'Rourke, Scott, Thompson, Rodaway, Brennan, Young, Noble, Martin Dobson, James, and Fletcher and Kindon, Hall on the bench. Our referee today is Mr. Jeff Bray of Hinckley, and this is an intriguing one. I mean, it's bizarre. Burnley have 9 players who've played first division football for the club. 3 of them, granted, have been elsewhere and come back since they've dropped down to the second division. Dobson, James, Kindon, all returning, but so all in all, 6 players who were part of the side that was relegated in 75-76 should be doing a lot better. There's a high sense of dysfunction here, Dave, for Burnley. QPR, they've managed to keep hold of some cracking names there, despite relegation from the first division.
The Burnley thing is on. I mean, they played the FA Cup semi-final, didn't they, in 74? Relegated a couple of years later, then marooned in the second division and going nowhere. And it's as you say, apart from the likes of Martin Dobson, Leighton James, who've come back from being elsewhere, it's a very nondescript Burnley side. Peter Noble's there still, I think, but it's those are, we talked before about how you can name the teams. This Burnley side, I mean, there are names there that are long since lost to the mists of history, I'm afraid, unless you're an absolute turf moor anorak. But obviously Burnley are going through all kinds of financial issues and whatnot at this point, because it has got that sense of a club that's just beginning to fall apart. And obviously, for the next 7 or 8 years, they were in all kinds of problems. The management, everything. It's sticking plaster stuff, isn't it? You get to the point where you've got 3 or 4 kids in the team, not in the same sense of Crystal Palace, who we spoke about in the last one, where it's coming together from a really strong youth team that's going forward. We can't afford anybody else, so they'll have to play. And then you look at QPR, and as you say, they are still very much a first division team in waiting, really. I mean, Stan Bowles is still there, Ian Gillard's still there. They've got the young Clive Allen coming through, Paul Goddard, another youngster coming through. They've had Chris Woods from Forest in goal. It's a really strong QPR team. Glenn Roeder, who plays like Franz Beckenbauer for most of this game.
Yeah, absolutely, he does. Yeah.
So it's a really good QPR team. And the way that Match of the Day set the team captions out, they just put the names in columns, really, with a line to denote the formation.
Yeah.
QPR's formation is 4-2-4, and it actually is 4-2-4 the way they play. I mean, they absolutely tear into it, don't they? We're giving nothing away by saying that this really is a game that if you're a Burnley fan, you might want to look away now.
That is very much kind of like the sports roundup at the end. Rather than Burnley fans being told to, if you don't want to know the score, look away now. It's more a case of Match of the Day's on next, look away now. The QPR run out 7-0 winners in this, and it could have been more, without a shadow of a doubt. O'Rourke is just such an unfortunate figure, and as we'll go on to, that was a life, curse in many respects for him. A thankless task on this particular day. He concedes 7, yet watching the goals back, you can only lay culpability for one on him really. The one where he flaps at the cross and it drops and in it goes. He makes 3 or 4 decent saves. He's the reason that they managed to keep it in single figures, Dave.
Yeah, in the second half in particular, he makes 2 or 3 really good stops. And the local paper apparently made him man of the match after the game on his debut, which, having let 7 in, I mean, it says a hell of a lot about the Burnley performance.
It says a lot, doesn't
it? To be fair to him, to actually be able to come out for that second half and make saves, having had that avalanche go against him in the first half as well. Fair play to him at 19 for being able to carry on, but they do just get ripped apart in that first half, absolutely torn to pieces. And I think it's the first goal, isn't it? Burnley start passing it around at the back. No good will ever come from this. I can tell you, no good will ever come from it. And I can't remember which one of the centre halves it is, but he decides to pass it past his own goalkeeper.
It's quite the finish, really. The concept of the no-look goal that Bobby Firmino brought into English football. Here was Brennan that managed to do it, teed up by the aforementioned Peter Noble with his, that hair as well for Peter Noble. It's just give up the ghost and get it shaved, isn't it? Territory, that one.
Well, funnily enough, I was looking through some old magazines the other day, looking for something, and there's a 4-page picture of Peter Noble from about 1974 with the most ludicrous attempt at a comb-over that you've seen, much worse than a Ralph Coates or a Bobby Charlton.
That takes some doing.
Effort from, but perhaps not as horrendous as his pass, which he used to the centre half, and then screams abuse at both the centre half and the goalkeeper when it ends up in the back of the net.
The temerity of putting it in the net. Yeah, he was the man with the assist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it is an absolute shocker. For the first goal that you are as a teenage goalkeeper conceding in your professional career, that is one to hang on the wall of the Louvre.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those where you look at the team in front of you and you think, with friends like that, I don't need very many enemies, do I?
Yeah, he's soon attuned to what's going on around him. Put it that way. There are other opportunities. Before the goal he scored. There's Allen with back post header that's just wide after great work from Burke, another player who'd been recruited by QPR from Nottingham Forest. this and one of the things that was striking as well is this. It's that jarring nature of the 1980s aluminum, and this isn't a plastic pitch yet for QPR. But it's not even November, and there's patches everywhere. You're looking at them thinking, I kind of get why you put the AstroTurf down, really.
It's a remarkable thing, that pitch, isn't it? Because it's just in the shadow of the side where the TV camera's opposite the dugout. Down there, it looks like a bit of a lake, really. On that, there's about 4 or 5, 6 feet inside from the touchline, where it's just mud everywhere. The rest of the pitch, apart from the goal mouths, isn't too bad, but that one bit obviously never gets any sun. They haven't got any lamps in those days to encourage the grass growth. And it's a proper shambles down there. And then the rest of the pitch is quite nice. So if you're a fullback, it must be very peculiar.
Yeah, absolutely. QPR, we don't like to go too far in advance of this, but QPR are not going to get promoted this season. A lot of it's going to be down to that pitch, hasn't it? With that amount of quality in your team, that pitch is going to cost them, isn't it?
It must do. I mean, as I say, you've got Clive Allen who's scoring goals left, right and centre already at, 18? Tony Curry to come back into the side, Bob Hazel to come back into the side, Glenn Roeder, you've got Chris Woods. It's a team that, if you looked at that team lineup, you didn't know what division they were playing in. You would just assume they were playing in the first division.
Yeah, and they should be able to hold their own in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Perhaps Tommy Docherty's adventures with the Derby Constabulary that we mentioned in the previous edition are come back to haunt them later on in the season. I don't know, but no, they really should be. You look at that and you think, they'll be romping away with this division. No problems at all. But as you say, maybe that pitch over the course of the season did start to cause them trouble. But it always looks great, Loftus Road. I mean, everybody's on top of the action. The goals look like Sabutio goals.
Yes,
it's aesthetically, it's a very pleasing thing to look at.
It is a very, very pleasing ground. Yeah, it's kind of like I'll hark on about the Dell and stuff like that, and it's that similar type of just that close proximity, and it's all kind of like you're just in it's like a proper shoebox of a thing, and they're just a joy, those grounds to be in. But it doesn't last long. Mickey Walsh is on for him. Before the second goal scored. Managers, our concept, Dave, of managers in the stand rather than on the touchline. There was a lot of this in the 1980s. And Bob Paisley used to do a bit of a. I've always looked at kind of like managers on the touchline, thinking, especially with my spec at Anfield is high up, where you miss nothing. Yeah, in terms of the shape of the game and where players are and stuff like that, and you think, why don't more managers still do that type of thing?
I don't.
Without being on a touchline ban, though.
I don't understand it. I mean, to me, most of the managers are doing it because they're control freaks and they just want to be able to shout and scream at somebody close up, and B, they're putting on a show for the supporters. Look at me, look how committed I am, how passionate I am. I'm trying to make this team play. It's their fault that they're idiots. But I mean, I remember at the old White Hart Lane. The press box there was literally right behind the dugouts, and you were at the same level as the managers. You couldn't see anything. All you just see is this forest of legs running in front of you. You've got no perspective of, if somebody's in front of you and they switch the play over to the other side of the pitch, you've got no idea what's going on. You can't see it at all. That view from up in the, traditionally it was up in the director's box, wasn't it? You'd look down and that's such a better view if you want to see what your team is actually doing.
Yeah.
And, who's picking up who and who isn't tracking back and who's, obviously football managers are far more skilled than I am, and they know what they're looking for. But when you're looking through that forest of bodies, I don't know what you can see, really.
Yeah, you can't pick up the patterns at all. There's just no way that's happening. But both managers are in the director's box for this one, which was a joy to see. 26 minutes in, 2-0. Don Shanks again. O'Rourke is absolutely helpless. It deflects off Brennan, the fella who's kind of like put the ball past O'Rourke for Paul Goddard to poke in for the first one. Brennan is as he kind of gets off scot-free in this one. It's all about Billy O'Rourke, isn't it? But yeah, there's Brennan who's just kind of like given O'Rourke such a bad hand to deal with for the first 2 goals.
Not his afternoon at all, really. You said this one balloons off him, and it's another straightforward opening for QPR to make it 2. And even at 2-0, you can feel that this is going to go really, really badly. It's just absolute carnage. There's no organisation to Burnley at all. They look like they've never played with one another before. And, as you said, there are 3 or 4 basically kids in that team. They've got a lot of injuries and whatnot, and it does speak of a team or a club that's in free fall, big financial trouble, and ultimately the season will end in disaster for them and all of that. But this poor kid in goal is just watching all the bombs and the bullets go off around him, wondering where the hell he's suddenly found himself.
Yeah, you need the grown-ups in the room there to be doing better for him. He ploughs on manfully. He does make some fine saves. And like I say, out of the 7 goals, there's only one that you can possibly, suggest that he plays a part in, and he's not alone in that as well. It's not just like his error. Be able to come for the corner. There's plenty of bodies there in that penalty area that can stop that goal from happening. 3-0, to a couple of minutes before half time. It's Goddard with a header, Road striding forward like he's like we said, cross between Beckenbauer and Al Hansen. Walsh with a cross, no chance for O'Rourke for the 3rd goal.
No, absolutely not. I mean, Glenn Roeder's part in that is fantastic. I mean,
it's unreal, isn't it? He's playing central defence this day because of Bob Hazel being missing. So he would be playing in midfield. He has that propensity to be able to step forward. But I don't remember much of Glenn Roeder doing this type of thing, though, even when playing in midfield.
He gets the ball virtually on the edge of his own area. It's like a, 70, 80-yard run, just strides forward.
Yeah.
Fair, there aren't too many tackles.
There's not much.
The freedom of
there's no checks and balances between his and the Burnley penalty areas.
But no, I mean, it is the proper majestic thing, and then he plays the simple ball for the cross and bang, 3-0. There's very little stopping that one from the goalkeeper's perspective, and it just always go back to that 1974 Cup final commentary. David Coleman and Newcastle were undressed, very much like that for Burnley, and constantly, not for the last time, basically.
Yeah, it was very much pants down for Burnley on this particular afternoon. They do have a goal disallowed. Peter Noble puts the ball in the back of the net, but even he's looking around thinking there's no way I'm on the side here. Chris Woods is just kind of like, what's going on here? And within seconds, it's 4-0. And it's McCreary's header, Gomo scramble, and this is the one where O'Rourke could do better. But, he's not alone in that. 4-0, so the traipsing in at half time, O'Rourke disconsolate, very much shoulders slumped afternoon for him.
Absolutely. It's 4-0 on you. I always go back to Brian Glanville's book, Goalkeepers Are Different, which I must have read about 15 times, 20 times. I read it constantly as a kid. Yeah, and you think of him, the night before, I'm going to play. I'm going to be on the telly as well. This is my debut. I'm going to make a fantastic count of myself, and I'm going to get a move to Manchester United, and it'll be marvellous. And then after 45 minutes, he's wondering whether he's got a career left. Virtually, I mean, it's an horrendous afternoon for him. As we keep stressing, not entirely, certainly hardly his fault, really.
Yeah.
But if you've been Alan Stevenson by that time, God, he'd played 500 or 600 games, I should think. But even Alan Stevenson standing behind that defence, looking at
what a struggle.
Thought, oh my God, this is going to be a hell of an afternoon. So no, it's. I think the worst element of it is quite often you'll see a team that's winning 3 or 4-0 at half time, and the second half is an absolute non-event. Nothing happens at all because they just say, okay, well, we've won the game. We'll take it nice and easy now. It'll be a training exercise. QPR don't take that attitude in the second half. They just keep all guns blazing all the way through the second half.
They absolutely do. Tommy Docherty is not for pulling his punches in this one. And onwards they go. There's an intriguing opening for Burnley in the early exchange of the second half. Peter Noble, who's just behind absolutely everything that's ludicrous in this game for Burnley. Absolutely everything. He's got a clear header. He's in acres of space, central to goal. In comes the ball. I think from I think it's Dobson that's put this peach of a cross in as well. And he kind of, Barry Davis even says that it's hit his ear and gone like out by a mile. It's not quite at the corner flag, but it's halfway there, Dave. He's literally kind of like eared the ball way out. This is Burnley's best chance of the game.
They would have needed probably 3 more sets of Sabutio goals for that one to have gone in. I mean, it is a horrendous miss. He's there all alone, basically on the penalty spot pretty much. Diving header, and you can see that bulleted into the top corner and it's 4-1. And okay, they're not going to be back in the game, but there's a bit of respectability and it might herald a better second half. But no, I mean, he could not. We've all heard commentators say, he got his angles all wrong. He could not possibly have got his angles any more wrong unless he did it straight back to Martin Dobson, frankly. It
was harder to do what he did than it was to put the header at least on target and straight into Chris Wood's arms.
Absolutely. It's an horrendous piece of finishing from a fella who, God, he's been around for 10 or 12 years at Burnley by then, hadn't he? So, I mean,
Yeah, he was no stranger to a football pitch and the angles, should we say.
That summed up his afternoon, really, didn't it?
It really did. That put the top out on his afternoon, and I think he sinks completely without trace after that. And to rub salt into the wounds within a minute or two, it's 5-0. Wallace to Allen, fine finish, low and to O'Rourke's left. Possibly the goal of the game. I was impressed with that, the movement and that. And they just cut Burnley wide open, and again, there's a teenage goalkeeper hung out to dry. It's 5-0. And still over 40 minutes of the game to go.
Yeah, teenage goal scorer as well. I mean, that's classic Clive Allen. That was, again, I don't know how many goals Clive Allen scored across his career, but there was always this sort of sense of certainty about Clive Allen, wasn't there, when he got into those positions. That's going to end up in the back of the net. He very rarely seemed to have periods of time where he wasn't scoring goals. Whether he should have played for England on a regular basis or not is another story. I mean, he's in the same era as the likes of Gary Lineker and whatnot through the 80s, so that's a whole different thing. But at league level, he was just put the ball in the right place and he would score goals.
It's in the back of the net, yeah.
He's on the way to a hat-trick, which he doesn't quite get, which we shall come on to when the 7th goal goes in. But he was just a machine in front of goal, wasn't he? And there he is at 18 doing it already. 10th goal of the season, I think they said it was.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a machine at club level. Yeah, and forward, they keep on ploughing forward. O'Rourke makes a couple of fine saves, one particularly from Stan Bowles. He denies Steve Wicks as well. So he is having his moments of glory on this very kind of Burr landscape. This austere match of the day platform that he's got. He's at least being able to kind of like say, there we go. That's that save I made from the great Stan Bowles. But before too long, it's a penalty. Bowles is brought down, and it's 6-0. Up pops Allen. It's 6, still with over 15 minutes to play.
Yeah, and it is a penalty. I mean, Stan Bowles makes a lot of it as he's falling down. He's got his arms wide out there, doing the full swan dive. But it is a penalty. And the interesting thing is, it's another one of the kids that gives it away, another 17, 18-year-old. And the goalkeeper goes over to console him, which is fair play after the afternoon he's had. But he goes and consoles him, and then there's no stopping Clive Allen from the penalty spot. As you say, the goals just keep rumbling in.
They do. They keep on. They're coming down the left on a more regular basis as well. Ian Gillard is giving all sorts of punishment down that left-hand side, especially to Leighton James. There's a couple of reducers he puts in on him to nullify kind of like the potential threat, the only threat that's that's being offered by Burnley pretty much in an attacking sense. Another great save from O'Rourke, this time from Walsh. And this at the end of a really excellent QPR move that would have been. Now, again, we spoke of kind of like that Jimmy Case effort that hits the underside of the bar and bounces very close to the line against Coventry. And here, is another move that would have ticked the boxes of a potential goal of the season contender, had it made it to the back of the net.
They're playing some really, really good football, QPR. And, for all the Burnley are something of a mess, you can't take it away from QPR. They're playing, the movement's quick and crisp. Passing is good, they're doing all the right things. They've got David McCreary in the midfield who's sort of holding things together. Then everybody else is released to go and play. And you just think if Tony Curry adds on into that team, they can't possibly miss promotion, can they? Except they do.
Yeah, this intriguing, concoction of fuel does not make it to happen. Yeah, you've got the pitch deteriorating through the winter. Clearly, is going to make it. It's going to get worse through November, December, January, February. But you've got the volatility of Tommy Docherty being involved, which yes, he could take you to the stars, but he could also take the car off into the ditch. And then you've got the very exacting Jim Gregory as the chairman. Really, it's lighter fuel, a match. They're going to burn it all down, aren't they, Dave?
That was always the problem with QPR around that sort of period, wasn't there? There was always that sense that it could all suddenly fall off the rails, which it did all too often. I mean, again, here we are talking about a team that was a point away from winning the league 2 or 3 years earlier. I mean, they were. We talked about Crystal Palace in the last one as being the team of the 80s. I mean, QPR should have been not necessarily the team of the 70s, but they should have come a lot closer. They should have won something at that point, and then here they are in the second division. And that was the thing, we talked about it in the 70s series that we did. Amazing how quickly teams could go from the heights to suddenly being in the second division and meandering nowhere. And again in the 80s, Aston Villa, European champions, 5 years later, they're in the second division. It was an amazing pace of turnaround that you don't really see anymore, I suppose, because of the finances, probably primarily. But that churn in football, it was so easy to get it wrong, and for getting it wrong to really have proper consequences, far more so than it does now.
Absolutely, yeah. That volatility was, impressive. Glenn Roeder puts in the 7th. I think it's a deserved goal for the shift that he's put in there. O'Rourke, he's chipped, and again, he's blameless for that one. QPR do kind of contrive to try not to score that goal almost, but Glenn Roeder does get it over the line, and that's everything's done and dusted. There's tears in the eyes of Billy O'Rourke as he leaves the pitch. His manager comes down from the director's box to embrace him on the pitch. You've got a lot of consoling arms around his shoulder from both sets of players, and he's given the man of the match by the local press. Billy O'Rourke, he would have a tragic end. 42. Brain hemorrhage in 2002. He did go on and play another 13 or 14 league games for Burnley. He played pretty extensively for Blackpool in both loan and permanent spells. He had spells at Chester City. There was a decent spell on loan and then as a permanent transfer to Tranmere Rovers as well. At the very early inklings of Johnny King's second spell in charge, and that they would be moving up the divisions before too long. But a career curtailed in '88 as well. So it was a shortened career, but he is a goalkeeper that's so infamous for this game. Yet he played 170 more league games than me and you, Dave.
Absolutely, he did. And yeah, that's what I always think about it. I mean, if you've played that much football, that's you've achieved a hell of a lot, haven't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's when I was at the Albion, I'd set this thing up where all the players should have caps. Who would play the league game for the Albion? Yeah, and that came down to one or two blokes who'd come on for 12 minutes at the end of a game. But as you say, they got on the pitch. They did that thing. They
lived the dream.
Absolutely, they did. Yeah, and they all play their part in the rich tapestry of whatever club it is. I think it's a thing to be celebrated, not to be put down in any way. I think it's an amazing achievement.
I think joining Romark, I think we have our second inductee of the Your Boys Took a Hell of a Beating Hall of Fame for all the right reasons.
Absolutely.
Yes, he conceded 7, but he was in a team that's not won for 6 months, anchored to the bottom of the second division in all sorts of disarray. He did well that day to keep that under 10.
Absolutely. Peter Noble, I'm afraid, will not be joining the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. We'll have to come up with a Hall of Infamy, I think, that we can put a kind of Room 101 effect for players who crimes against 1980s football. Late 1970s football. Moving on to the headlines. Oh, actually, we need to run through the rest of the second division results from that day and where we are in the league placings, shall we say? Birmingham City 2, Swansea City 0, Bristol Rovers 3, Charlton Athletic 0, Cambridge United 1, Orient, not Leyton Orient. They are just Orient at this point in time. 1, John Chidozie on target for Orient. Chelsea have picked up a 2-1 win at Cardiff City. Mike Fillery has got the winner. Notts County 3-1 winners at Fulham. Leicester City a 1-1 draw at Boundary Park against Oldham. Preston and Burnley in the Lancashire Derby. Actually, no, I've got the wrong weekend, Dave. I've even got the wrong weekend. I'm ahead of myself here. So, yeah, I think I'm a week ahead of myself. But we'll still run through the rest of them. So, we're a week off, but never mind. Shrewsbury 3-1 against Wrexham. Sunderland 3-0 against QPR. Newcastle beaten at Watford 2-0. Luton 2-1 winners at Newcastle. That was a week before. That was 7 days before. So that's the state of the second division going into the game at Loftus Road against Burnley. Luton top on 17 points. QPR are in 7th, 3 points off the pace. Notts County, Newcastle, Chelsea, Wrexham and Leicester sit between them. Burnley bottom of the table, 5 points, 5 draws, 7 defeats, and obviously Loftus Road will be their 8th. Charlton Athletic and Fulham also in the bottom 3. West Ham not doing so well as well. They're down in around about 16th place, Dave. That's Sunderland mid-table. Again, another reason why maybe this QPR side couldn't win promotion.
Plenty of big names in that division, aren't there?
There's some big hitters there, isn't there?
It's also surprising just how much of that second division is this year's second division.
Yeah, it's unreal.
It's
the wheel turns, doesn't it, Dave? History will repeat itself.
The second division will of course find the FA Cup winners come the end of the season.
It will indeed, and those FA Cup winners are labouring at that point in time, down in the lower regions of the second division, with a fine set of players themselves.
I do think it was a more powerful second division than it is now. And,
yeah,
we've talked about all the reasons for that, the squad sizes and so on. But you look at, let's say, West Ham, that West Ham team that's going to win the league, the cup rather. Trevor Brooking wouldn't stay at West Ham now. No. And Alan Devonshire wouldn't stay at West Ham. Look at the QPR team. Stan Bowles would probably still be in it. Ian Gillard probably.
Tony Curry. There's some names in that second division.
In that second division, they would have all had transfers on relegation, or they wouldn't have come there into the second division. No way on earth. But that was the days when first division teams had 13 players, still 13, 14 players, and that was it. And if you wanted to play, you went.
It wasn't a squad game. It was a 1 to 11. And you played where you could. Back page headlines in the week leading up to the Burnley capitulation at Loftus Road. Alan Sunderland wants to transfer from Arsenal. He's unlikely to get, but it's an unspecified reason. We don't know why Alan Sunderland is seeking this transfer, but he's Arsenal's top scorer and apparently wants out. Scotland are all set to play in the British Home Championships in Belfast for the first time in 9 years. Having refused to go and play at Windsor Park because of the troubles. There was Kenny Dalglish in a row with Jimmy Hill, Dave. He's played for Scotland against Austria. Hill has suggested that Kenny took a dive to win a penalty. Dalglish is very, very, very unimpressed with this. Football League all set to sign a new 4-year TV contract with BBC and ITV. They've got designs on putting a gag on Jimmy Hill and his controversial views to try and tone him down a bit, Dave. Do you think they've got half a chance? No, none at all. None whatsoever. None in the slightest. Brentford versus Sheffield United at Griffin Park. A very interesting game. There's 2 sent off. There's 4 booked. There's ructions on the touchline as players of each side and coaching staff. It all kicks off, and actually, the much maligned supporters, football supporters this year, quite a few of them, climb down from the seats, not to join in, but to try and split the warring factors up and to play the peacekeepers. Here are not football hooligans, but football pacifists, Dave. Proud of the Denzians of Griffin Park on this occasion. Blessed are the peacemakers. Why wasn't that on Match of the Day? Why we've had that one as a lower division game? That would have been magnificent, wouldn't it? Jeff Hurst is all set for the Chelsea job on a permanent basis. Well, as permanent a basis as you can be Chelsea manager in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Ron Saunders has been given the vote of confidence at Aston Villa, Dave.
Mistake.
The right choice.
Yeah.
Nothing
He'll take
good
him nowhere. Take him nowhere.
Villa are going to do nothing under Saunders in the years to come, are they? John Lacey is all set to be dropped by Keith Birkinshaw at Tottenham for the upcoming Forest game, which will be the game that marks the return of the big matches cameras as the technician strike finally comes to an end. And there is unrest at the Manchester United AGM. It becomes transparent that Matt Busby owns the Manchester United souvenir shop, and shareholders are none too impressed. Anything in particular that piques your interest?
Matt Busby thinks Jim Ratcliffe will be turning in his grave if he was dead.
Jim Ratcliffe will absolutely be tearing down statues and renaming stands as we speak.
He'll have the Munich clock off the wall. He'll be melting Matt Busby's statue down. There'll be all sorts going on now. We best not tell him.
It's best they don't know. Dave, it's been a joy, a really enjoyable trip down into the second division to see what's going on.
These are the glory years, aren't they?
It won't be the last time throughout this 1979-80 revisited. I am positive. Contractual stipulations were in place to demand so, and rightly so. All that leaves me to do is say thank you for listening. This has been subsection module 1.06, paragraph 1. Paragraph 2 will be taking in, I think it's going to be Nottingham Forest trip to Tottenham Hotspur. There will be several paragraphs on this particular weekend. At least six games, has made the cull of YouTube's bounty for this particular weekend. And I think about 24 goals. So yeah, we do have to stretch this particular weekend over several paragraphs. Please do join us again, paragraph 2 then. Thank you and goodbye.